Hello. Uh, as usual, and for the foreseeable future, this back here is Cupid Takes a Holiday. I wrote it. I think it's quite good. In fact, I thought it was good enough to publish on Amazon. You can go to Amazon at a link that I will provide in the description below, and you can buy it. And then you can read it. Or you can buy not a physical copy, but you can buy it on Kindle, and then you can read it. Or if you have Kindle Unlimited, you don't even have to buy it. But I would love it if you'd read it, and then you can tell me what you thought of it. And if you thought that maybe there's something that I should have changed. I understand people love to point out flaws in things, so I'm new at this sort of selling a book thing, so I'm still not over the whole I know you didn't like it and you thought you could do better. So you can send those comments to me. Just knowing that people read it would be a reward. The Tale of Prisoners Past, and the Tale of C7. Here we go. So, apparently, Tucker did the classic younger brother thing of letting his older brother do all the work. They were painting the den. He and Gary were supposed to paint the den. Gary painted it all by himself. Finished 10 minutes ago, he says, as he arrives, running out of breath at the Midnight Society gathering. And then he gets mad at Tucker because Tucker ditched him. And but, Tucker's got to tell the story. Gary's the leader of the Midnight Society, so he can't, I think he's the leader. That's the sense I've been getting. I wonder if he's the founder. I wonder if that's explored in any of the reboots and sequel series that I'm not going to watch. Anyway, the story must be told. And so Tucker gets a reprieve from Gary's vengeance. So Tucker's story is about two very different brothers, not unlike himself and Gary, Jason and Scott. Jason is a chess club kid, and Scott is a jock. And they find themselves thrust together when their parents, I guess Jason's mom and Scott's dad, or it was never clear because it never mattered that much, they get married, and so they become brothers. We find them at a prison. They are on a tour with their school, and the opening is a recreation of the Great Prison Revolt. So these stepbrothers are, I guess, in the same class, that means, and we first see them interacting. Jason's having trouble picking a t-shirt, then Scott comes up and just points to the t-shirts, one for him, one for Jason, and the guy selling the t-shirts, who is dressed as a prisoner in the stripes, says $10, and Scott takes the $10 out of Jason's hand and hands it to the guy. Jason then says, well, then you owe me $5 because you bought both of our shirts with my money. Scott taunts him with a $10 bill, says come and get it, and Jason, to the surprise of Scott and Scott's friends, grabs it, and then runs into the basement of the prison. Now, I would think that normally any doors that visitors aren't supposed to go through would be locked, but this door was just wide open. And so Jason runs, Scott runs after him, and they get into this, off the tour part of the prison, not as cared for, but they think it's the same sort of place. And Jason first spooks Scott just by hiding in a corner and doing it, but then they actually explore, and they see a cell that seems to have, just like the ones above, a mannequin that's going to pop out at them, or that is rigged to pop out as though it were starting a prison revolt. But when Jason says it's just another dummy, the mannequin speaks, and it turns out it's a ghost of One-Eyed Jack. And he asks them to open his cell. And Jason is skeptical that they should, but Scott says, no, it's part of the game, and does, and then One-Eyed Jack, of course, leaves the cell. as a ghost, he probably could have walked out through the cell, but I think he's trapped. He was trapped there, and I'll get to why. But then he wants them to go back into the cell so that he can trap them in the cell, and they don't go for that. So they escape. They're caught by their teacher, who gets them back on the bus, tells them they're in trouble. The bus is going to leave with or without them, and they eventually get back home. We next see them in their bedroom, which we understand Jason is resentful that Scott now resides in half of what was Jason's bedroom. And it's a pretty big room. There's a room for both of them, but, it used to be all Jason's, and therefore it's a problem. They are arguing about what happened, and I think Scott is even skeptical until, or maybe both of them are skeptical, until the ghost shows up at their bedroom window in the middle of the night and tries to pull Jason through it. I think it's Jason that they try to pull through it. We next meet them in the library doing research, because that's what you had to do in the early 90s. To do research, you had to go to the library. They find out that One-Eyed Jack was the only prisoner to escape that prison. I think they might have named the prison, but I never wrote down the name of the prison. The librarian is wearing a prison outfit, striped type of outfit herself, and so they think that One-Eyed Jack is come for them again, but it's just her, and she says, "You have to be quiet, it's a library," which is a classic thing that happens whenever any scene takes place in a library. Because they're talking, the librarian character has to come in and remind the audience, the viewers, you don't talk in libraries. They find out that One-Eyed Jack had a daughter, and they go to visit said daughter, but the daughter is sick of people visiting her and asking her about her father, One-Eyed Jack, and sometimes they wear eye patches. She's just sick of it, and so she drives them away. And they're back in their room again, arguing, disagreeing, thinking of going back to the prison to try to investigate things. But then the ghost reaches through the bedroom door and steals Scott. Not Jason, Scott. And Jason then goes to the prison to try to save Scott. He gets there, the door is locked, the gate is locked, but then it unlocks itself for him. And I think he's afraid, but he goes in anyway. He finds Scott on the cot in the jail cell from which they had released One-Eyed Jack. They then find themselves locked in. But knowing that One-Eyed Jack escaped the cell without their aid previously, they know that there must be a way out. They see a rat go through a hole in the wall, and they use that. It turns out that the wall behind the toilet has been dug out Shawshank style, and they crawl through it into a vent. I don't understand the architectural stuff going on here. Doesn't seem to entirely make sense, but this is why I'm not an architect. They are in a vent, and they find a skeleton. It is One-Eyed Jack's body, and what he wanted was to trap them in the cell so that they would find his body, and then they'd be able to give some closure to his daughter. Apparently he was yelling in the vent. Nobody ever found him or heard him. I don't know what he died. I guess he died of not being able to get back to the cell. I really don't understand, but that is what happened. And he gives them a photograph to bring to his daughter so that she knows that they're telling the truth. And then, after the story is over, it is revealed, although not immediately, it is revealed when Sam says to Gary, "Yes, I'll see you tomorrow, whenever." And then Gary doesn't know what she's talking about. And so then it is revealed Tucker skipped out on painting because he stood in line for hours and hours and hours to get tickets to Lollapalooza. And then he told Sam that Gary wanted to take her to see Lollapalooza, and that is why he skipped out on painting. He knew that Gary wouldn't do either thing, and he wanted to do it for Gary. So, it was fine. It was okay that he skipped out on painting. The Tale of C7. It's not a Tucker story. It's a Sam story, but it's kind of spurred by Tucker saying there was something he wanted to tell everyone at the Midnight Society, but he can't remember what it was. And Sam says, "Well, my story's about memory, because that's how these things go." And she has brought props from all her previous stories. The locket that inspired the story about the Revolutionary War soldier who was trying to get to the love of his life, but he got hanged by the redcoats. The ring that inspired her story about the the guy who the prom the Bolorama one, the one that took place at a bowling alley. There's a necklace. Her little parade of props served to show that she's pretty much been telling the same story over and over again. And this one was not that different either. So this mom, who I don't think is ever named, she is moved to this huge mansion by the lake, and her kids, Jason and Lisa, are not thrilled with living in a huge, nice house next to a huge body of water with a dock and a boat, which means the kids are wrong. And you heard that right. I said Jason and Lisa, and the kids in the previous one were Jason and Scott. I often, like, I was just going over all my old Animorphs blog posts, and I said, I don't know if the ghostwriters were talking to each other when they were writing the stories that came one after the other. And I don't know the exact makeup of the writer's room for Are You Afraid of the Dark, but maybe they weren't talking to each other when something like having Jason in 2 back-to-back stories is... Maybe it was obviously a very popular name. Jason was also the Red Ranger a couple years before this episode aired in Power Rangers. So there's that. But still, it's unnecessary. It brings unnecessary ridicule to the episode. We get a few rules about the dock. Lisa, the little sister, she's not allowed on the dock until she has a life jacket. They're not supposed to take the boat out. It's just dangerous for kids to do these things. And so she said it was called the Homestead Inn. She wants to make it an inn again. She wants to restart their lives. I don't know what they're running from. But anyway, they encounter a door that won't open. And in trying to open it, they cause the chandelier to fall. The house is having issues. In the middle of the night, music wakes up Jason, who then runs into his mom in the hall, and it's the first of a couple of encounters where they jump scare each other, and then go in search of what turns out to be his sister. Lisa has been lured down the stairs by the music, and she's looking out at the water, and she says that there's a ghost or something that needs her to communicate with it. The next day, they find a jukebox in the closet because the closet suddenly opens for them. And suddenly Jason is into it. He says he wants to fix up the jukebox. Well, first they make sure it works, and it starts playing music, and then there's a point of view shot comes up out of the water approaching the house. And then when the music stops playing because the jukebox shorts out, the point of view gets sucked back into the water. But Jason gets into it. He wants to fix the jukebox. He wants to give the whole inn a retro feel, and that's apparently what it takes to get him to be happy about living in a giant house on the water. So let's see. So as he's fixing it, he finds that C7 doesn't play. He's going to randomly pick C7, and C7 is called Last Dance. That's the name of the song on C7. So he randomly chooses it. He's pushing different buttons to make sure it all works, and it refuses to play, so he pushes a different button. And a girl appears behind him, and then the music stops, and she disappears. But he thinks she's gone out onto the porch, so he goes out on the porch. He's following where he thinks she's gone, and then jump scares his mother again. At which point the jukebox starts. Oh, and Lisa and they've come back from grocery shopping. The jukebox starts playing again on its own, I believe in the middle of the night, and the girl comes in, and readers for Jason, record stops. She reaches for Jason, and then the record stops. She goes away. But Lisa is talking about how the girl has been talking to her. And Lisa tries to take the boat, which is still tied to the pier. She doesn't untie it from the pier. She just tries to take it out. I guess she's in a bit of a trance. So Jason is able to chase Lisa out and pull the boat back with the rope. Their mom catches them, says he needs to be better about paying attention to Lisa, and that she needs to listen to her mom and not go onto the pier whether Jason's watching or not. Then their mom tells Jason, not Lisa, about the stories that made the house so affordable for her. Apparently, there was some welcoming home party for a guy who'd gone off to war, but he never came back, or he didn't get there in time. And his girlfriend, when the party got canceled, went out in the canoe, and then there was a storm, and then the empty canoe washed up on shore. That's the girl who is the ghost. And she is missing her love who never came back from the war. And the jukebox wants to reunite them. And later on, Jason's working on the jukebox again, and Lisa is reading a Ghastly Grinner comic, which is a throwback to a previous episode. Jason plays a song to bring the ghost. He's specifically trying to get the ghost to come to him this time. He manages to fix C7, and this time, when the music starts, it transports him back in time, and now he's at the welcome home party for the soldier. Lisa is going. She overheard the story, so she wants to warn the ghost about an oncoming storm in the present. And Jason gets pulled back in time, and he sees the ghost of the girl and the ghost of her boyfriend reuniting, and they dance to the song, and he's enjoying it. And then the song ends, and he realizes that his sister's out on the water again. The police do not believe his story about a ghost. You'd think they'd at least believe that his sister had gone out on the water, whether the reason for it was believable or not, and they would try to help with that. But it's, then there's no story. And then, let's see. Jason, of course, goes out to the water, runs into his mom, does the jump scare thing, and then they go down to the pier because he admits he lost Lisa again. And then Lisa has returned, and she says that the ghost brought her back, and then the last line of the story is C7 never played again. Then we hear thunder. Tucker says, "Oh, right, I remember now. I wanted to tell you that it's going to storm tonight." So it starts pouring rain. The Midnight Society disperses, and Gary still douses the fire because he's not absolutely sure that the pouring rain will get all of it, and he doesn't want to start a forest fire. That is important for him to do. It was torrential rain, but still, you take responsibility for your own fires. You don't just leave them. Anyway, that's those two episodes. The next two episodes, The Tale of the Manaha and The Tale of the Unexpected Visitor. I see the word aliens, but I'm not reading trying not to read the plots before seeing them, but I saw the word aliens. So those should be interesting. Anyway, I hope this was interesting. Buy my book, and pleasant dreams, everyone.